2% of the National Assembly of Pakistan is women. So therefore, we empowered them politically. The second element was empower them economically. So we took a lot of measures to give them reserved seats, jobs in various government organizations. We equalized the pays of male and females. In the education field, we gave them quotas and we ensured equality there. And in fact, today I can very proudly say that the girls of Pakistan are doing far better than the boys of Pakistan in education. That is a fact. In fact, I've been telling boys that I'll have to give you quotas, I think, in the future. I see that. So we empowered, this was the economic empowerment so that they get educated and they come forward. And we also opened schools and institutions to teach the local government councillors and beyond at the lowest level, the women, to learn what is governance, to learn what is their responsibilities to their families, to the nation. Lastly, ladies and gentlemen, the third element was to do away with discriminatory laws which were totally discriminatory against women. And we addressed that issue, and we dealt with issues like honor killing and Hudud ordinance, and we made them women-friendly, which, ladies and gentlemen, I'm very proud to say, nobody dared to touch. And I did that for the women of Pakistan. So this is what we did.
A related question. Funds from outside of Afghanistan are helping the Taliban, who are closing schools for girls and continuing a regressive treatment of women. The question goes to the economics. You say economics needs to be a part of this. How can economic changes alter these religious beliefs, or can they?
No, there's no problem with the religious beliefs. Unfortunately, it's a misperception, is a distortion of the religion in Pakistan or even in Afghanistan where people, it's these obscurantists, I call them obscurantists, who think that women need not be educated. There is no such thing in the religion. There is no such thing in Islam. They have to be educated. My mother did her master's in 1940. It was not un-Islamic. She did her master's in English literature in 1940. Just because my grandfather thought that the women should be emancipated and they should be educated. So it's a distortion of the religion, which unfortunately done by these obscurantist clerics, which think that women should be kept in the house, they should not be educated. That is not the case. I think my wife is sitting here, who has been educated and did her graduation. And, I think it's a simple matter of lack of education, backwardness, illiteracy, misperception, distortion of the religion. Nothing else. But this is an ideological battle which we have to fight in ourselves, in the Muslims, in Islam, in the Muslims of the world. And therefore, ladies and gentlemen, I proposed in the OIC meeting, the Organization of Islamic Conference meeting in Kuala Lumpur back in 2006, that enlightened moderation, which was really that we have to go for socio-economic development of the Muslim world. And in that, we must bring education and poverty alleviation, job creation for the Muslims. We are the poorest. We are the most backward. And it is the OIC which I said that must do it. Why are we expecting anyone else to come and help us? Every country of the world, every state, Muslim state, must emancipate, must do it within themselves. And then the OIC, this only organization representing the Muslims, must help out. And then, of course, we expect the United Nations also to help. And when this strategy of enlightened moderation really was a double pincer, where we expected the West to solve political disputes which involve Muslims, all of them, the Palestinian dispute, the Kashmir dispute, solve them with justice. While the Muslims, I said we must, as an OIC, as a body, reject terrorism and extremism and go for socio-economic development. This was the strategy of enlightened moderation which I proposed back in 2006. And we moved ahead, may I say, on this, that we had started restructuring the OIC in accordance with what I said. We moved slow, I know, we moved very slowly, and a lot of hurdles were created. I think this world doesn't believe it. It's more a believer in status quo, frankly. To break status quo is that much difficult, really. But one has to persevere and one has to keep moving ahead for the sake of emancipation of the world, for the emancipation of the people of the world.